Do 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 do.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for visiting. I'm Nancy Gamon. I'm just getting ready to dye a t-shirt with a colorful bloom on the front of it. Viewer James Mason left a comment on my ice dyed blooms video asking, how could I do this on a t-shirt? I think this is a great question. Let's give it a try. I'm starting with a clean white 100% cotton t-shirt that I have washed and dried without the use of any fabric softener. And I'm just getting it smoothed out and lined up here on the surface. This is a dry t-shirt still. And I'm going to create my dyed design in the center of the shirt. So I want to find that midline. If the shirt has side seams, you may be able to line those up, but this one doesn't. So I'm going to measure and mark 3 points along the center of the shirt. The first one's going to be about halfway down, and I'm using this nifty center finding ruler. But if you don't have one, you can use a regular measuring stick and do math, which is always fun. And then I'm going to make the next mark a couple of inches from the hemline here. And just put a safety pin in there at the center. And then the next mark I'm going to make up near the neckline. When we start folding, this area is going to get all weird and bunchy, and so it will help to have a mark up there. And then I'm going to just reach my hand inside here so that I'm only pinning just the top layer of the shirt. And after I get that done, I'm going to toss the t-shirt into a soda ash solution and let it soak for about 10 minutes. I've wrung out as much of the soda ash solution as I could, but the t-shirt's still quite damp. And now I am going to get it folded and lined up kind of crossways here. I'm looking for the entry point of the safety pins to use as a guideline for the center front. And it's kind of tricky because these sleeves are bulky and get in the way a little bit. But I think that's, mostly smoothed out, mostly center-ish. And we can start folding up the bloom that's going to appear on the front side of the t-shirt. So I'm going to start by folding up the bottom hem, folding it in half, stopping at about where that safety pin is. And then I'm going to take just this top layer and fold it down. And I think I'll go ahead and remove the safety pins at this point. So I took the side, folded it down, and then I'm going to take this folded edge and fold it down, and then do that one more time. So it was 3 times. And then now I'm going to flip the shirt over. I'm going to pinch it where my folds are so that I don't lose those. And poof, I'm just going to flip the whole thing over. And I'm going to take out this top safety pin. And bring this folded edge down to the bottom. And do that 2 more times. 1, 2. And now I have a big binder clip that I'm going to use to secure these folds, not permanently, but just while I'm messing around with the rest of the t-shirt. So this folded area is going to be the flower, that's going to be the bloom in the center, and then the rest of the t-shirt is going to be the foliage or the background, however you want to color it. And I'm just getting it kind of loosened up so that it won't, wherever there's a fold, it will leave a line. And I don't want a bunch of crisp lines in that area of the shirt, so I'm just kind of blousing it out to make it nice and loose. Now I'm going to set the t-shirt into my dyeing tray, and let me bring that over. So I have a plastic bin and a rack like what you would cool your cookies on, and then I have a baking pan that has holes punched in the bottom for drainage, and I've just put a few mat board scraps in the bottom of the pan so that the fabric won't pick up the design that's on the metal tray. And I'm setting the t-shirt in here, and now I'm ready to put a little protective cloth over this. And I like to do this because we're using powdered dye to dye the shirt, and not all of the powder liquefies, and so I like to protect my project with a little cloth so that it doesn't get spotty. And I usually use different colored cloths so I can see what's going on. So this bloom area, I'm going to put a white rag on here. This actually is a wet wipe or a moist towelette that's gone through the laundry. And then over this area I'm going to put a different rag and protect that area. So now when I put the dye on, I can see, oh, this is my bloom, this is the foliage area. And I'm going to cover it with a layer of ice cubes. I don't want too much ice or the project will get kind of diluted, so I want just enough to give it kind of a single layer covering. And I have quite a few different colors that I'm going to sprinkle on here. I thought it would be fun to make a really bright red bloom and then have a bright yellow and green background to it. And I'm using powdered dyes. These are Procion fiber reactive dyes. You want to have your dust mask on when you're doing this. This technique does not work with powdered RIT dye. That has a different method. So I'm starting at the tip. I'm just going to put a little tiny bit of something called ginger snap to kind of form the center area of the flower. And then I have a bright Chinese red that I'm going to sprinkle down the bloom. And then in the foliage area, I am just going to go to town with my brightest yellows and greens. So I have, this is something called Melted Peep, and I have a deep yellow that I'm just about out of, so we'll finish that off. It actually has a little bit of orange to it. And then this is another yellow called Lemon Yellow, and I think that this yellow will just offset the red bloom so nicely and make it really pow. And then I have a green called Lime Pop, and another one called Chartreuse, and then the last green that I'm going to put on is Grasshopper. Okay, so now the project needs to sit overnight for the ice to melt and the powder to turn to liquid and the color to seep down into the t-shirt. I like to let it rest for about 22 hours. All right, let's see what we have here. I am all a tingle. It's hard to wait overnight for the big reveal. All right, so hopefully we have a beautiful bloom in the center of this shirt. And we do. A nice big red bloom with green foliage. I think I have red bleeding through here just because I pulled it out and laid it down flat on top of each other. But it will just look like little flowers peeking through the green foliage. So now I'm going to take this to the deep sink and I'm going to run it under cold water until the water runs clear. And then I will wash it with textile detergent and hot water and rinse that out with cold water, and then let it set in hot water with Retayne, which is a fixative that will help things stay permanent. And I'm going to let it sit in the Retayne for about 20 minutes and then rinse that out in cold water, and then we'll let the shirt dry and we'll see how the final result looks. Here's the completed shirt, washed, dried, and pressed with a hot iron. It has a nice big colorful bloom in the front, and the red dye that I thought might be bleeding through to the back when I first unveiled it just all washed away. So the back is just a nice mix of that bright yellow and green with some of the red from the flower kind of curling around the sides there. So because this is a child-size t-shirt, I feel like the bloom is a little bit large scale for it. I would have liked to have more green around the bloom, kind of framing it. And I think I also would have liked to have a darker center. So I'm going to try this again on a grown-up size t-shirt, making a few little modifications. So, blooming t-shirt, take 2. Here's the finished adult size t-shirt. I still got a pretty big bloom even though I wasn't intending to, but at least it's more proportionate to the size of the t-shirt. I do like it with the darker center. I think it looks a little bit more floral that way. And here's the back side of the t-shirt, just kind of a green and turquoise blue. Whoops, sir, your tag is showing. And there we have it. So James, thanks for your question. Keep experimenting, and I'll see you next time. Do 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 do.